This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation.
Time for school.
Hey, School Success Makers. Welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater. I'm joined by a new friend out of the great state of Georgia, Bishop Foreman, who is the pastor of Harvest Church in Atlanta, Georgia. And he just recently moved into there. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. But we're going to do something a little bit different on today's episode. We're just going to have an episode of fun and encouragement and pouring into you school leaders that are doing God's work there across the country, pouring into these students, loving these students, teaching and educating these students. And we're just going to have some fun. I've got connected with Bishop Foreman and seen his social media and his church and what he's doing. And he is an encourager and he loves people. And so we're going to just have a fun episode, a little bit different than what we typically do when we interview school leaders. So hope you guys enjoy a little bit different twist. And I hope you guys will receive the encouragement that you're about to receive from this conversation. But before we jump into all those things, I'll pass it off to Bishop Foreman to introduce himself. So welcome to the podcast today, sir.
Listen, I am so glad to be with you. We said we're two brothers from another mother. We got the same barber, and I'm so glad to be with you today. So glad to be with your audience. I know so much value is going to be added to their life. They call me the People's Bishop, pastor of Harvest Church, and it started in Denver. We moved our headquarters to Atlanta. Actually, now we did something amazing that I think every leader has to do is continue to evolve. So we've evolved from Harvest Church now to what we call History Makers Church, the place where history makers are made, which is exactly what your audience is doing. They're creating history makers. I am who I am because of the teachers, the administrators, the people who poured into me to do the things that I would do. And so that's what your audience does all the day long. And so that's where we are. That's what we're doing. And we say the People's Bishop because I genuinely love the people that I lead. I'm about people getting results in their life. I'm about measurable metrics that people can look back and say, my life has made progress. I have grown. I can see that progress. And so we do that through the church. We do that through our Bible college. We do that through our community where we build both spiritual and successful people. We call it kings and priests. So we got a lot going on that we do, but I'm super excited. Right now, the thing I'm most excited about is being here with you right now.
Love it. Well, thanks for taking time out of your day. I know you got a lot of things going on. And we'll be obviously be super respectful of your time, and we'll have some fun today.
Let's do it.
Before we jump in, so I ask everybody the same question. This will be a little different for you because I know you just got to Atlanta. Because how long have you been in Atlanta now?
This is now month. This will be month 12. This is month 12.
Oh man, we're at a year. That's exciting. All right, so I'm gonna ask you two different cities.
Okay.
So I ask everybody this question. It's the one everybody gets at the start of the podcast, and it's if I was to visit you in Atlanta, Georgia. So it's gonna be Atlanta and also Denver. I want to hear both answers. What would you say, Mitchell? You need to eat this and do this to experience that city.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's start with Denver. In Denver, you've got to go to, there's a space that was on Diners, Drivers, and Dives. You got to go to Sam's. Sam's number 3, I think is the name of it. And they've got it's 100+ menu items. They got tons of stuff. It's like a diner, but it is actually really good food. I really enjoy that. You got to eat there. Eat. And then what was the other part?
Do. Eat. What am I going to do?
Eat and do. So here's the truth. What you really should do is go skiing if you're in Denver. But I got to tell the truth. I never went. All those years I lived in Denver, I never went. But I would say you got to do that to really experience it. I still need to do that. So I guess in many ways, I need to practice what I preach in that regard. In Atlanta, you got to go to Mary Mac's. That was the restaurant that when I used to travel back and forth, I would always go to. It's in Midtown. It is a Southern style food, mac and cheese, greens, all of that type of thing. Southern style food. You got to do that. And where you would go, oh my God, I would literally say just drive up Peachtree and you're going to find everything you could possibly want from one extreme to the next extreme, everything you want. It'll take you from downtown all the way up to the northern suburbs. And there's everything you could want from food, eating, restaurants. shopping, everything, just like go to Peachtree.
Okay.
Now there's about 40 peach trees, but
Oh,
yeah.
well, and also with the traffic of Atlanta, it's going to take like 6 hours to drive to.
I was gonna say it's a full day. It's a full day. it's a full day. You start early, start at like 8. You start early and take it from the south side all the way to the north side.
I remember doing road trips as a kid, and this is when I grew up in Florida as a little kid, and we would go. I remember visiting my dad's family in Chicago, and so my dad we left on purpose at whatever time it was in Florida, so that we would go through Atlanta and like 2 a.m, 1 a.m, because then my dad's like, I'm not dealing with Atlanta traffic to go there.
Oh
So
yeah.
we would just sleep through the night, and I know Atlanta
Yep.
traffic hasn't changed, has it?
Oh my goodness. It is. So here's my rule. If I haven't done it by 2 p.m. that day, it just has to go to the next day. If it's not in your little world, whatever your little 5 to 10 mile world is, if you haven't done it by 2, you need to put that to the next day. Like it is traffic like I've never experienced, and it's at all times of the day. It's not like, you'd think to your dad's point, you think, oh, it's 10 o'clock, nobody's out. Oh no, everybody's out. And I'm saying, where's everybody going? Then you think, oh, it's 8, it's 11 o'clock in the day. It's right before that lunchtime, but most people in the office, no, it's packed everywhere, all the time. Yeah.
Man, well, let's jump into some content today.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, your teachers and educators that kind of poured into you throughout your life. What were some of the biggest memories that maybe were a change maker for you? Like growing up, maybe you were headed in one direction because of a teacher doing this or doing that. It helped you pivot into, obviously, I know you're full-time pastor and what you're doing.
Yep.
And like, what was there anything kind of stood out to you that an educator did?
You know what? So I was different as a kid. The joke is I came out of my mom's room with a Bible and a briefcase. That I had this spiritual affinity and this business affinity, this entrepreneurial, industrious, it was intrinsic to me. It was built in. It was natural to me. And so I was different as a kid. So in school, I wasn't the typical student where, you want to make friends with your peer group. I wasn't that guy. I was the kid that wanted to be friends with the teachers and the administrators, the principals. So, born in Denver, raised in Memphis, Dunbar Elementary School, and it was a public school. But the teachers, they knew that I was a Christian, and they knew that that was very important to me. So they were very they did, especially in the South, they were very open to that, and they were open to that communication. And so my teachers really played a much different role than a normal teacher. I remember in second grade, at one point I wanted to be a teacher. I used to love the teacher's pens. And my second grade teacher, her name was Mrs. Denton, and she went and got me a box of their red pens from the teacher supply store. Then she got me a grade book. Now, I don't know who I was grading because, but I just knew that I wanted a grade book. That little small gesture, one, showed me that there were people outside of my home that actually cared about my success. But two, I was able to, in many ways, connect with her in such a way that the investment she made, just life conversations that transcended what a typical teacher would do, it made such a lasting impact that all these years later, I still remember her name. I still remember what she did. I still remember how she looked. I literally tried to track her down. We were unsuccessful at doing it. I hired a company to find her. And it looks like perhaps she had gone on to the next level of her assignment in life. But I literally tried to find her. The principal of that school, Mrs. Wilma Wilburn, I remember her name because I was one of the students that stood out. And they poured into that. What I think happens a lot, and where teachers have such an amazing opportunity, is to help students that are different dominate in their difference and not demonize their difference. So they knew I was different. So they knew, I was just a different kind of student. So they knew I was good at public speaking. So when Smuckers came into town and they needed a spokesman, they were, oh, we got your guy. Here he is right here. When the homework hotline, that was the latest and greatest in technology at that time for, now I'm sure everything's online and apps, but the homework hotline, a parent could call the hotline to get their kids' homework for the night. Like that was the thing then. They were like, we got our guy. So they put me in the newspaper. They helped to cultivate what was different about me, and it gave me a voice so that it really made a big difference. I remembered them. They were second grade teachers. Then you go forward, elementary school further in Denver. Every grade level, I always had teachers that I was able to connect with that were able to pour into me and give me something that I was able to take and use in life. I remember Mrs. Katz in third grade. She was a Jewish teacher, and she would always she would make potato pancakes and latkes and all of this, and she would always have these little sayings that would just stick with me. I remember Mrs. Blakely in fourth grade, Mrs. Micus in fifth grade. You see the trend? Sometimes teachers don't realize the impact you're having and somebody's life stays with them forever. And so it's a thankless job often, but it is the job that changes the world. The real history makers are the people that are watching your show right now.
I love that. I love that you remember them all by name, and that they had, and golly, I mean, obviously we're talking over 2 decades ago, like
Yeah.
these people that you remember, and you remember the impact that they made, even if it was something, I mean, so small, like the little gift that you said you got, you're like,
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that thing. I remember that thing.
Yeah.
So, man, I just want to say to the teachers listening and educators, like, you don't know that little thing that you're doing, like what they're going to remember potentially 20, 30 years down the road going, you know what? Mr. Smith or whatever
Yeah.
gave me this thing or said
Yep.
this to me. I mean, I do
Yep.
remember, here's one thing I'll say, and I'd love you to speak into this. Like there's people in your life that, and I think teachers, most of them will be this, where you can speak with life or you can speak death
Mhm.
into these students, and
So
they're
true.
going to remember it for the rest of their life. And so like,
So true.
obviously, and the Bible obviously says this as well, you know, it's like
Right.
choose which one you want to do. And so you can think back to these teachers that have spoken to your life where you're like, ooh, I didn't like what they said and it stuck
Yep.
with me for the rest of my life. But then you can
Yep.
remember the ones that did speak into your life and it stuck
Yep.
with you in a good way for the rest of your life. And so you're obviously a living testament of saying, this is what these people have said to me, and you're remembering it in a good way. I'm sure there was some negative stuff too, wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I look at, I'll go Mr. Green, sixth grade, South Middle School, Denver, Colorado, or Aurora, Colorado. And I remember one day, Mr. Green really became, so my household, my mom, amazing mother. To this day, she's my number one fan. After every message, anything I do, I don't care if it's something from with the president of this, the president, President Biden, or whoever it was, and whatever, political, whatever stage, no matter how big or small, whatever. She's my number one fan. I will get a text message from her. Amazing job. You did great. She's amazing. But I grew up in a home. My stepfather, he was an abuser. He was a womanizer. It was a lot of negative things. So I would often look to my teachers to look for models of leadership. And they didn't know. They would never know what was happening at home. And I think that's one of the powers of being a teacher is you don't know how what you're doing is helping to feel a space and a place for a student that you may not know all of what's happening in their home. And so I remember Mr. Green, he was amazing. He pretty much let me do everything that I wanted to do. And I remember one day I was trying to tell him something and update him on something. And I remember this face that he made. He was talking to another student and I was updating him. And I was like, and Mr. Green, and he was like, and I remembered that face. To this day, I remember that face. And when he made that face, I remember thinking, all right, I don't want to experience that face again. So I want to learn how to communicate in an encapsulated way. And I also remember thinking I have to stop looking to him for as much as I'm looking to him for, because clearly this was an annoyance to him. So, it was one of those things where I'm the type of person, I always live life as a student. So even something negative, I want to get the lesson out of it. So for me, I got the lesson out of that. But I remember that was sixth grade. South Middle School, and I was like, okay, all right, this was different. I wasn't expecting that face from you because I really looked at him, and he didn't know this, but I looked at him in many ways as a father figure, and that facial expression was an act of rejection that he didn't even know how much I valued the fact that the good he did. So that didn't outweigh all of the good that he did, but out of my experiences with him, that's the one thing I remember.
Hey, school success makers, Mitchell here. I just want to take a really quick break from the show to give a big, huge shout out to the Herzog Foundation. I absolutely love the Herzog Foundation. I've been friends and partners with them for a couple years now, but we're bringing it to a whole new level. And I'm excited to share that our very own School Success podcast is now featured on the Herzog Foundation Podcast Network. The Herzog Foundation is a powerhouse of resources designed to support schools like yours, from free training events through the Herzog Foundation Institute to their incredible online news publication, The Lion, and of course, our new podcast, Home. They have everything you need to stay informed and inspired. And if you're dreaming of starting your own Christian school or co-op, don't miss their online course, Schoolbox. It's a fantastic resource to help you get started on the right foot. At School Success, we're proud to partner with the Herzog Foundation to bring you these valuable tools and insights. So visit herzogfoundation.com to explore all they have to offer. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on these amazing opportunities for growth and success. And I love all the people over there, and I know you guys will too. So please go check them out, and you won't be disappointed. Now, back to the show. And so you obviously not having that father figure, we're looking at that. Were you looking at that just from the men teachers, or were you also even looking at that from like the women to be pouring into you, like what you should be looking for and what you should, like what example you should be?
Oh, sure. Because you know what it really was for me? It was the leadership aspect.
Yep.
The leader in me latched on to leaders. So it's the reason why everybody else was friends with one another. I want to be friends with the teacher. So like I was just a different type of student. I was like, I was, grading kids, my peers. I was grading their papers while they were at a recess. I was like, I'm gonna grade these papers. I was like, I want to be friends with the person with the power. It was just my nature. So it was not so much the maternal or even the paternal. It was more of the leadership aspect of it. I wanted to hear how they thought. I wanted to hear how they approached things. I paid attention to how they walked, how they talked, how they spoke, how they did things, how they even wrote. Mrs. Micas, for example, she was very particular about how she wrote. So that's my penmanship became impeccable because I said, if you're going to be a leader, you need to write well. I remember in middle school, the teachers that I had, and it was a different experience. I came to a different district, and it was a different experience. In high school, I had a teacher that I was with all 4 years in a particular program, and her name was Mrs. Kara Powers, and she would joke around. She was very giving. She bought this book that was on the Oprah show, I think called "Go to Your Destiny," about these twin boys who had this incredible journey. And I remember she would sign it. Now, obviously, if the people are listening to the audio version, they can't see me, but I'm Black, and so she would write in the book. She said, "Sign your white mama," is the way that she would sign it, and that was just our joke in between one another. It was just a joke that we had, and what have you. But I remember that impact because it was the leadership that I was lodging to and that I was connecting to that caused me to be the leader that I am today.
I love that. All right, so here, let's do this then. So you latched on to some of these different qualities of people, and obviously
Right.
leadership was one of the main ones. Is there other things that stood out to you that you latched onto that we can speak into for these school leaders listening, going, oh man, that's maybe what some of these students are looking for? Was there something that comes to mind where you're like, man, I really looked at that in them that you want these other teachers to know?
Yeah, honestly, I'd say it boils down to really three things. One, how they carry themselves. More is caught than taught. And I think in a scholastic environment, in a pedagogical environment, it's often easy to think that the focus is on the information when really it's beyond the information. It's the presentation. And in the context of a lot of those that do a lot of the work you do, it's the impartation. You're imparting part of who you are into your students. And so I learned so much more just by watching them, how they interacted, how they walked, how they spoke, how they talked, how they dealt with disruptions in the classroom, how when they operated with love versus just the law, so to speak, that made a big difference because you didn't know what a student was going through. So one, more is caught than taught. So how they do what they do. Second thing that I think that is often being latched onto is the questions that the teachers ask. Sometimes I think the best teachers are the ones that ask the questions and create question askers. I think the real genius in the room isn't having the answer, it's creating the question because it's those questions that take us down the path of discovery, of self discovery, of industrious discovery, being, ingenuity, etc. I think those questions create that. So I remember when there was questions that would be asked. I had a teacher, Mr. J. Benish in high school. And again, remember these names. That's so crazy. I haven't thought about these people in a ton of time. But as I need them, I can pull them right back because of the impact. He was the first teacher that began to question a lot of, he was a, I believe, history teacher that began to question a lot, that made me step back and look at history in a very different way and dig deeper beyond the surface level. But it was because of the types of questions he would ask. I remember this, I said, this guy's different. He's very different. He's different. But I remembered that, and it created that. And I think the third thing that often people are latching onto is, do you see me? In other words, is there a recognition of the individuality? And I get it, teachers have a lot on their plate, but I think the very best teachers are those that can find the individual. If we were to use a Bible example, Joseph, his coat of many colors, it's the thing that made him different. And I think the best teachers find their students' coat of many colors and speak to it.
Mhm.
Everybody's got a king and a fool in them. The one you speak to is the one that's going to respond. And if you start speaking to that king or that queen in a late young lady's instance, that thing comes alive, and their coat of many colors, they start to wear it, that they're different, and it's not demonized. And this is where I think you begin to see a lot of the issues. I never really dealt with peer pressure because I had teachers that spoke to the king in me. I had teachers who recognized that I had a coat of many colors. And so they embraced that. They knew he is not like my other students. So he is not, like, I went to school with a briefcase and in a suit and, and I was in the computer lab making business plans. And, I was just doing different stuff. I was different. But they spoke to that. And as a result of that, it helped me to develop in a way that I didn't give into peer pressure. I didn't give into a lot of the things that happens in school often because I had teachers that spoke to the difference. So do you see me? And then can you speak to that?
I think if they see a student that's like you, I feel like that would be easier. What would you say to them if they had to teach the student that is cussing them out, that is doesn't want to be there, leave me alone, they got their own problems at home? Like how would you encourage a teacher that's dealing with the more difficult students, not
Yeah.
like you?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I think that's a great point. And I think disrespect's never acceptable. But I think sometimes whenever you're dealing with fruit problem, there's a root problem. And I think when I look at the teachers who did, I go back to elementary school. I remember Mrs. Denton. She would ask questions that, I know in today's regulatory environment, I don't even know if she could ask some of those questions now, but she would ask questions that would give her enough information to be able to be understanding. And I think when you're dealing with a difficult kid, I say, one, none disrespect is never tolerated. But beneath the disrespect, there is often some type of pain, trauma, drama, something's happening that I think a teacher owes it to themselves as a teacher, but also to the potential of that student to see, is there something that I can do? Maybe that's a question. Maybe that's a, hey, you got a second? Let me just chat with you. I know you do this and I know you do that. And I know you got this, you cussing, you acting. I know you got to do all of that. But let me ask you something. You know, are you okay? Are you good? I think a lot of that with students and particularly young men, it is this presentation of hard because the reality is there's a lot of pain. So I got to be tough in front of you because I'm dealing with a lot of pain in somewhere else. And not the teachers. And again, we already put a lot on teachers. Not that I'm saying you should go into the classroom and be the kids' pastors. But I think when you're entrusted with that seat, there has to be a sense of, I'm shepherding these people through this stage of their journey, and I can just teach the information and they pass on. Or I can be like those teachers Bishop Foreman had, where I am making an impartation in a life to where everything this student does, when I stand before God one day, and I say, remember so and so, so and so? Yeah, that was my student from. Yeah, but everything they did, part of that's accounted to you because you made such an impartation in your life just by doing what you did.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's shift into this. Maybe as our last little section we'll do. So
Yeah.
teachers across America and probably even the world, but we'll say specifically America. There is a
Yeah.
ton of burnout. Like there's a lot of I
Yep.
know teachers that are leaving the profession because
Yep.
obviously there's a whole bunch of different reasons, and so we're trying to get more people to come fill those seats. But if teachers are in those spots where they're struggling with, man, do I want to come back next year? I don't know if I want to do this anymore. What would be some encouragement you would want to impart on some of these teachers that maybe are dealing with that?
You know what? First of all, I think that's a real thing. And I just want to say thank you for every teacher, administrators. It is a thankless job. It just is what it is. But it is a calling nonetheless. And I think when you're called to do something, callings often interfere with what we're doing. If somebody was to call me right now, I'm in the middle of a show with you. If they call me and I answer the call, many are called, few are chosen. The ones that are chosen are the ones that answer the phone. If I answer the phone, it's interrupting what I'm doing. So I think sometimes you got to step back and look at what you do is not just an occupation, but a vocation. It's a calling, which means it's interrupting. It's an interruption. That's the whole point of it. It's an interruption. When you view it through that lens, one, it takes it from just being about me, myself, and I, but then being about, okay, this is a calling, this is giving me an opportunity to do something bigger. Number two, I would say this is finding ways on your daily basis to replenish. Sometimes when you got to be like Air Force One, you got to refuel while you're in the air. There's no time to land. And as a leader, I've been on since I was 12 years old. Got into ministry when I was 12. Started my first business when I was 12. I've had one setting on. I don't know another setting. So what I had to learn how to do was I have to learn how to refuel while I'm in the air. So I have to learn how to do things that replenish me and refuel me while I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think sometimes for many teachers, leaders, the issue isn't the weight we carry, it's the way we carry the weight.
Mm.
It's how we do what we do. And sometimes it's because you take on the emotional burdens of your students and you take them home. Right? That's going to weigh you down. That's going to affect your family. Sometimes you're dealing with issues that are just beyond what you can do. And even as a shepherd, there's things where, I hear stories all the time. I hear the best of lives and the worst of lives, but I can't take that on. That's not mine to carry. I can only carry my weight. And so I say to every teacher, do what you do, but you cannot carry the weight of other people. And here's the saying I would say, don't set yourself on fire to keep everybody else warm, because you will burn out because you set yourself on fire. And the third thing that I would say to teachers is look for practical ways to have therapy on a daily basis. And the word therapy just means to heal. Maybe that's an actual therapist. Maybe that's an actual counselor. Or maybe it's conversation. Maybe you just need to sit up and have a conversation with a colleague, a coworker, a friend after work, whatever it is, and just get it out. Sometimes the reason that there's so much overwhelm, so much burnout just in life, and it's not just this field, it's everywhere, is because there's no safe space or safe place to just talk, just get it out. Sometimes I don't even need an answer. I just need to say it. I don't need you to tell me what to do. I just need to get this out. And I think those are really simple, pragmatic things. But most people are on the highway of life, and teachers are notorious for this, on the highway of life. Just going, 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 going. You get there when it's dark, you leave when it's dark, going, 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 parent teacher conferences. You got this, you got this, you got this, you got that. That when you're on that highway, if you don't stop at some point and fill up, if you don't stop at some point and replenish, you're going to run out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
And even on an electric, I'm all into the electric craze these days. Even with a 15-minute pullover, you can still get a lot of juice.
Hey, that's
Yeah,
good. I like that. They say
yeah,
full things fill things, and so
yeah.
if you're not full, man, you're not going to be able to fill. And specifically, students, if we're talking about here, if you're
Yes,
not full, then you have nothing else to pour into and to fill them
yes.
up. So you need to be doing something. Maybe it's having a hobby. I mean, my goodness,
Yeah,
I feel like less and less people, and I'm speaking to the choir here because I feel like I don't have any of those right now. But
yeah,
my wife has like gotten into some of these recent hobbies that she just
yeah.
loves, and it's kind of filling her cup. And I'm like, man, maybe some of these teachers need some fun hobbies to get into at the end of the
Yes.
night. Do you have any hobbies you get into that keep you?
Oh my God. Let me tell you. So let me tell you my therapy. Here's my therapy. My therapy is conversations, exercise, walking. Those are my top three. Now, after that, I'm very competitive. So you'll find me in a Dave and Buster type environment often, right? That is that. I'm super competitive. And I had to learn that because I remember going through a stage in my journey where I was like, who would want to do this? Da, da, da. And literally God's words to me were, who said you had to do it the way you're doing it? Well, this is the way you have to do it. Sometimes we're living by what I call dumb rules. We've created these rules that are what we have to do, the way we have to do it, but they're dumb rules. It's just the way you've been doing it. You don't have to do it that way. And so for me, I have to get my daily exercise, period, point blank, bottom line. In the discussion, I have to get my walk in. I don't want to do it at the gym. I don't want to be on a treadmill. I don't like the mental imagery of that. Like you're standing in one place, but you're not going anywhere. I don't like that. So I like to move around and see it. And conversations. I make sure every day I have conversations that make me smile, make me laugh, that are therapeutic for me. And that is the reason that if I had hair, I haven't ripped it out. And that is one of the reasons why I'm able to carry the weight, but it not be something that weighs me down.
Mm. Man, I like. Well, you're so similar because I love me some sports, love me some competition. I'm very competitive to. I don't think it's bad, but I guess I could, it could be bad. I like told people my son's soccer team. I coached it for the last like 3 seasons, and
Right.
we finally won the championship this last time. And I was like,
Come
no,
on.
but it's 5 to 7
Yeah.
year olds. We're not talking here. It's like high school. It's 5 to 7 year olds. But I said after the season was over, we lost the first season. We lost in the championship, and all the kids were really bummed. But I probably was more bummed than everything because I feel like we got robbed. And so this
Right.
whole off season or what, I was like, I'm recruiting. So I started like texting people from our marriage group, our church. I was like, hey, how old's your kid? How old's your kid? Trying to find kids that could join. I was like recruiting kids to join. And then we won the championship. And I was like,
There you go.
yeah, who recruits for a 5 to 7 year old soccer team? Mitchell Slater recruits for the 5 to 7 year old. Cause man, I'm very competitive. And then the kids got to hold the big trophy, which I am so glad. Side note, that they
Yeah.
actually give the big trophy to the 5 to 7 year old team that won, and not just like here's a participation trophy.
Participation. Yeah.
Oh, I love that they actually had a big one to go, oh,
Yeah.
we worked hard for this and we earned this.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a side
Yeah.
thing, but hobbies, yeah, people need hobbies. You need to get into doing something fun. I feel like we're just in a burned out society. I think a lot of times
Yeah.
we like you said, you go to work, you go home, you have stress all the time on your mind from
Yep.
these teachers and from these students. And so you
Yep.
guys got to have a way to unplug and
Yep.
refresh and find something fun to do. Like there's
Yeah.
so many things to do out there, even
Yeah.
no matter where you are in the country. But I think getting outside for a walk. I mean, we talk about exercise is a big one. I know you are into big into fitness. I've heard really, I'm obviously going to put you on the spot for this one too. For like the fitness side, I've heard like you really should be getting like 10,000 steps in, and obviously drinking lots of water and eating healthy, because that mindset shift can really help when it comes to how you're
Yeah.
approaching work. Anything to kind of add when it comes to like a fitness inspiration
Oh, yeah.
for teachers and educators?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, anybody that's in a high stress type of thing, you're gonna have to do something to de-stress. And so I've actually lost now to 125 pounds. I don't know if you've seen my before and after,
Oh,
but we got to get to my before and after. I lost the first 75 pounds in about 3 months. Another 20 or so pounds initially, a couple of months after that, and now the total aggregate is about 125 pounds. And I only got into the gym in 2022, and so, but the gym is like a thing for me. So my regimen looks like this. You can't out train a bad diet. So you can't just eat horrible and then I'm gonna go to the gym and burn it off. Not really. You probably burn 300-400 calories tops, most workouts. But I am a gallon of water a day. And I know what some people, I can never do that. See, that mentality right there is why you can't. You get to keep 100% of every limiting thought you want. So if you want to tell yourself you can't do it, that's exactly true for you. I used to think the same thing. I said, there's no way I can drink up a gallon of wine. So you know what I did? I went and bought me one of those little gallons because I needed to see it. I didn't want a Stanley cup or something. I need to see myself do this. Got me a gallon. My gym workout, I do 750 reps. I do a intensity interval type training. I do my hour of cardio. My fast walk is like most people's jog, and so between those two things, it's a great calorie burn. But I get creative, I get energy, I feel good. And here in Atlanta, you run into everybody, and so I didn't realize how popular we were until I started doing it. Hey, Bishop Foreman, hey, Bishop. I'm like, oh, you? They're like, oh, I watch you online. It was so great, which is awesome. But and the other thing I think too is it's good to get your body moving. If you're in a building all day, if you're with students all day, you've got to get outside of that environment. A different pace, a different place gives you a different grace.
Ooh.
And I think for many, that's all it is. Like it's just that simple. Because what I discovered is that many people, and I mentor and counsel a lot of people, still do a lot of one-on-one coaching, from people who are, just getting life started to, CEOs of major Fortune 500 corporations to millionaires, billionaires, you name it. And here's what I've discovered. People who never learn how to handle stress well, never learn how to handle stress well. Doesn't really matter what you do. Whether you're a teacher or you're a plumber, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, it doesn't really matter. If you don't learn how to carry your weight, it doesn't really matter what weight you carry.
Hey, I just want to take a really quick break from the podcast to highlight one of our amazing partners and sponsors, ClassReach. If you're a new school administrator or founder and are struggling to keep up with all the hassles of planting a new school, like collecting tuition, communicating with parents, or handling student data, then you need ClassReach. ClassReach is the all-in-one software that helps with everything from admissions and tuition to classroom management and parent communications. Sign up for a free consultation with one of their school specialists and see how ClassReach can help your school grow today. You guys can check them out online, classreach.com. They are a kingdom-minded company, and I love their leadership team there. I've become friends with a lot of them. They truly are a great company. I support them, and I love them, and you guys will love them too. Check them out at classreach.com. Now, back to the show. Dang, that was good, man. And I love what you said about the if you say you can't do it, you're right. Like,
You're right.
I tell my 6-year-old that. He literally this morning, he was like, what was I asking him to do? He was finishing his breakfast or something, whatever it was something basic. And he's like, I just can't do it. And I said, you're right. If you talk like that, you are right. You're correct. And I was like, but you need to do this. And so you are so right. The words you speak over our life are so powerful. The words we speak over to other people are obviously very, very powerful. So that's good. So fitness, getting a hobby, getting outside. What are some other, let's probably end with this. Let's wrap up with this. Like, share some final words or pieces of advice. It's usually what I ask every guest that's on here. Like, for all the school leaders listening, I usually ask for one, but let's just go to you, kind of maybe run out or whatever. Any just final pieces of it, just advice that you would want to share. Okay, you have an opportunity to share with all these teachers across the country. Like, what would be some advice you just want to share with them before we close out?
Yeah, well, I would say number one, what you're doing matters. And I think that's important, because if you don't think that your work is worthwhile, you won't think it's worthwhile. If you don't think that what you're doing is making an impact, we all at the end of the day want to do something impactful. And so I think you need to know what you're doing is impactful. Use just this little bit of this 30 or so minutes of one student being able to recall every teacher. And I only got to certain, but I can recall every teacher that I ever had. Mrs. Hughes, my Spanish teacher, high school. I remember her because to this day, I do not know sufficient number of Spanish words, but Mrs. Hughes made sure she took good care of me. And I remember her for that. I remember her whole journey, her whole story. She was a brand new first-year teacher. And what she did was impactful. And I remember one day going in, and she was kind of discouraged because of the way kids were acting and that type of deal. And I remember as a student being the encouragement to her, and I remember her openness to it. She needed to know that what she was doing was impactful, and her ability to see that she had impacted me. It wasn't because of the Spanish, because I still don't only got about 20 words for you, but it was because of the connection. So what you're doing is impactful. Number two, recognizing that God's plan is unfolding in your life. And if you still got a pulse, He's still got a plan. And so even in what you're doing as a teacher on a daily basis, not only is it impactful, but it's a part of a plan that's unfolding. And that plan, as Psalm 106 says, that they didn't wait for it to unfold. Sometimes we get so anxious that we don't allow the plan to unfold. And I recognize, I'll say it this way, that even what looks like delay or detour is part of design. And so even as a teacher, what you're doing, it's part of design. You got a pulse. He's got a plan. And then thirdly, I like threes. That's the preacher in me. I like threes. You get 3 points. I like threes. What you're doing is impactful. If you still got a pulse, you still got a plan. Final thing that I would say is when you are a leader, you become the lid. And every teacher is a leader. And I think the best thing that a teacher could do is continue to grow and develop themselves, not just in their craft, but as a complete individual. I think complete individuals complete individuals. Complete individuals, complete individuals. So the better you become as a leader, as a teacher, as a father, or whatever it might be, the better whatever you're leading is. I think the best teachers that I ever had were teachers that were just well-rounded people. They weren't just great at teaching, they were just great people. And because they were great people, it was effervescent. It came out in them doing what it was that they did, and they were able to make a significant impact. And I said it once, but I'll just say it again to wrap it up. Thank you to every teacher for what you do. Your students may not say it, their parents may not say it. I know we live in a time where the parents are probably just as rambunctious as the kids are these days, but they may not say thank you, but eternity will thank you. The world will thank you, because there's none of these big names. There's none of them if there isn't a teacher. There's no Bishop Foreman if there wasn't a succession of teachers that use their lives to impact the lives of other people. So thank you. And I just say, keep going.
Amen. Bishop Foreman, thank you for obviously pouring into me, pouring into all our listeners, and for just all these years you've been pouring into people and pastoring people. I'm wishing you and your church nothing but the best as you guys get started there in Georgia. And again, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, another huge shout out and a thank you to our guests for taking time and being on the podcast today. I love the people that I get to interview in this podcast. And as always, I'm hoping you guys are able to take at least one thing away from today's episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Before you guys go, I do want to make sure you are aware of our 3 free resources available here at School Success. And the first one is, of course, the podcast that you're listening to right now. We are dropping weekly episodes every single Monday morning. We want to make sure you guys aren't missing out. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't left a 5-star review, we would love a 5-star review as well. The second one is on our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com. In the top right-hand corner is a button, School Success Report. You just click that and sign up for that. We send it directly to your inbox every single week. It's full of different articles our team has either found or written to help you, the school leader, be more successful. And last but not least is our free Facebook community called School Success Makers. It's an awesome place. I'm personally in there. I'd love to see you in there as well. Get some good community around you, ask questions, and just have some fun. So make sure you are joining our free Facebook community. We'd love to see you in there. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. We'll be back here next week with another awesome guest as usual on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.